right, good evening. We are reconvening our meeting. We were in closed session before, so we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move the Board of Education approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting on March 8th, the work session on March 22nd, and the special meeting on April 5th, 2021 as submitted.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting on March 8th, the work session on March 22nd, and the special meeting on April 5th, 2021 as submitted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And we do have a couple of board salutes out there. I believe, Ms. Bradley, you've got one for us.
I do, thank you. I'm delighted to be able to offer this board salute to our district's assistant principals. Last week was the National Assistant Principals Week, and I can tell you from direct experience and from others' experiences that these administrators work tirelessly on behalf of students and really have a profound effect on students, on learning outcomes, on relationships. Powerfully important role. It was delightful to see some of the social media posts that resulted from the information shared by various schools about our assistant principals. And in fact, their posts were liked, shared, or commented on almost 5,700 times.
Wow.
And the comments were really inspiring. So I just share a few examples of the comments that were there. First one, you're always there for so many students when they need anything. Second, thank you for inspiring me to follow in your footsteps and become a teacher. Another one, without them, I might not have even graduated. And then the last one, the kids are so lucky to have you there for them. So the board wishes to say thanks and bravo to all of our assistant principals for their amazing impact on the lives of students and families and other staff members. We thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Parks.
So I have two. First, a board salute goes out to the students featured in the Dubuque area K-12 virtual art exhibition, an outstanding collection of original artwork created by our students. It's hosted by the Dubuque Museum of Art and sponsored by Dutrac Community Credit Union. The exhibit features a virtual gallery space that allows visitors to walk through it as if they were in a physical space. I actually was looking at it before I came to the meeting today, and it's amazing and really cool. So kudos to Brad Monternock, the instructional support leader for visual arts, who took a lead role in gathering the student art and working with our district's high school art students to determine the gallery layout and arrangement. And also thanks to the Art Museum and Dutrac for their sponsorship and encouragement of student art. The exhibit is posted for all to view on both the District and Dubuque Museum of Art web pages, and congratulations to everyone involved with this great collection. It is really neat. It's worth a few minutes to take a look. Not just because my kids have art in it. That was an added bonus. And I also want to give a quick board salute to Project Rooted and Chef Kevin Sharp from Brazen for the virtual cooking classes that they're doing at elementary schools across the community. There was a great event that they worked with the Prescott staff to do, and I got to cook some delicious pasta and sauce with the kids, and they had a really fun time and got to get their hands in the kitchen, and it was great. So thanks to them.
Great. Is there anyone else? All right. We do have a public hearing on the proposed budget estimate, and Kevin Callagher is going to review the certified budget proposal with us.
Yes. Thank you. Board members, tonight the district is requesting you to approve the certified budget and accompanying levy rate for the next school year. The district annually prepares a little booklet that I'm going to go through here shortly, going over kind of financial information with regards to the levy rate. It includes things like certified enrollment, state supplemental aid, authorized budget, and spending authority. Those are all part of that certified budget document. We're going to start by going to page 5 of that document. And I just wanted to go over quickly with you that it includes a chart and graph on the history of state supplemental aid. You can see it goes back about 20 years and goes all the way from 4% down to 0%. If you were to look at the last 10 years and take the average of the last 10 years, you would see it would be slightly over 2%. And that makes it challenging for the districts to maintain our spending and costs to maintain a 2% funding level. So that's a challenge that we've had to endure over the last 10 years. If we want to jump to page 10, please, Kobe. There, I want to show a chart that shows up in the upper right-hand corner kind of the breakdown of the levy rate. The top portion starts with the general fund and includes the top 2 lines come from the Iowa Finance Authority formula, and then the rest of it has to do with kind of some cash reserve items, and then underneath that is the Pebble and the management levy. So when you combine all those, it shows the rate from last year as well as the current year and compares that to the upcoming fiscal year for 22, that rate. Next page, please. On page 11, shows, scroll down, I believe, Kobe. Yep. There is the levy rate for the last 15 years. So at the end of the table, or the chart, it shows our request for this year, which is $14.56. It's 55.606 cents. So, but when you look at that, you can see that the levy rate we're requesting is actually a decline from the past 2 years. It's been going down and is almost $2.50 from a high of 10 years to 12 years ago when it was almost $17. Next page, please. Under that, we also compare our current levy rate that we're proposing to the last year's Urban Education Network levy rates for the prior fiscal year. Don't have all the data when we put this together for the current rate that all those districts are asking, but we like to compare just to see where we stand according to those other Iowa large urban districts. And you can see right now we are in the bottom tier for those 8 other Iowa school districts. Next page, Kobe, please. So here's what the published document that you saw in the paper. This is a certified budget along with the levy rate that we're asking you to approve tonight. Couple line items that I want to bring your attention to that have significant numbers that were different, are different from the prior year. We'll start with line 17, and that has to do with revenue from issuing bonds. You see that in FY22 it's around $36 million, and that is because in July we will be selling sales tax bonds in order to fund the Phase 2 senior project. Last year we generated about $28 million in revenue bond sales, and if you recall, the purpose of that was to pay off 2 prior bond issues. So we used that proceeds to do that. Next line is line 34, and that has to do, and that is higher because we've built in the expected expenditures on senior Phase 2. That's for facility construction work. So the FY22 will include costs beginning work on senior Phase 2, and that's why it's substantially higher than the prior year. The last line I want to bring your attention to is line 21. And that is, again, significantly higher because we paid off the principal of those 2 bonds last year. So included in this is interest and principal payments, and FY21 included the principal payments of those 2 bonds we paid off. So that's why the number is significantly higher than this year. And the final page I want to talk to you about is the next page, Kobe. And that has to do with the levy rate that we're proposing and how that affects different types of property taxpayers. So the top section is the residential property tax piece. And you can see in column 3, the amount that a taxpayer on an average piece of property is actually going to pay a little more, and that's despite our rate going down. The reason for that is the state changed the rollback number and increased the amount that they charge for taxable valuation. So they take your assessed valuation times that rollback number to come up with the amount that you pay for property taxes on. So the state increased that. That is something that is not in control of the district. But if you look at the other 3 properties that are on that page, the commercial, the industrial, and the multi-residential, there were no changes in the rollbacks for those except for multi-residential, and I believe that went down quite a bit. So they will be paying substantially lower than they did last year on our levy rate. That is all the pages I wanted to kind of go through with you. Were there any questions on anything I went through?
Kevin, when you showed the comparison with the other urban districts in Iowa,
Yes.
and you said that we're in the bottom tier, that means that our rate is lower than, what, about 2/3 of the other
Correct.
urban districts?
There's 5 other UEN districts that had a higher total levy rate
Right.
than our district, right?
Thank you.
All right.
I'd just like to say, Kevin, thank you for you and your team for assembling such a fine report. Once again, award-winning report.
Thank you, Jim. I think it's a good, we'll have it out on the website, and it's a good document for our community to look at, just to show all the components that go into the authorized budget and how it's calculated. We try to break it down as simply as possible.
Thank you.
You do a good job. Thank you.
I move that the Board of Education receive and file proof of publication of the notice of public hearing on the budget estimate and authorize payment of the legal notice publication cost to the Telegraph Herald.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing on the budget estimate and authorize payment of the legal notice publication cost to the Telegraph Herald. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We now have time for public comments related to this issue.
Seeing no one in the room, if there's anyone on the Zoom who wishes to make public comment to the board on the proposed budget estimate only, please do so by indicating with the raise hand feature in Zoom. Again, this is for the budget estimate only. If you're on the Zoom call and would like to speak on this specific item, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Seeing none?
Thank you.
I move that the Board of Education adopt the budget estimate for fiscal 2021 and 2022 as published.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education adopt the budget estimate for fiscal 2021, 2022 as published. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education suspend the rules of order and go into open forum.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education suspend the rules of order and go into open forum. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Any persons wishing to address the board at this time can do so.
Again, if you're on the Zoom and wish to address the board at this time, please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none.
I move that the Board of Education reinstate the rules of order and return to regular session.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education reinstate the rules of order and return to regular session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education approve those items listed in the consent agenda.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve those items listed in the consent agenda. Is Is there any members wishing to have an item pulled?
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to pull the personnel report.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And we pulled the personnel report because we have a supplemental addition to the report that was not in our packet, as well as recognizing some significant changes in personnel that we have hired. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Ryan.
Thank you. So this is that time of year. It's extremely bittersweet. We are going to lose some fantastic employees, and we'll have a chance to celebrate their accomplishments at a later meeting, so I won't spend much time on that. But we also have an opportunity to bring on some other folks who will take us to the next chapter of the school district. So the first is Lisa Tobakhorst. I'm sure I butchered her last name, Tobakhorst. She comes to us previously from, currently in Iowa City, where she's been an elementary principal for about a decade, and the 10 years prior to that in Cedar Rapids. She will be taking over for Cindy Steffens as the Executive Director of Elementary Education. A real wealth of experience, a great leadership mindset, and a real strong advocate for teachers and for students. So we're excited to have Lisa on board. Big shoes to fill with Cindy's retirement. Also had several internal candidates who were equally who were also fantastic applicants. So we appreciate that folks within the district are willing to put their hat in the ring for that. But Lisa clearly was the person who we will rely on to focus our elementary efforts for the foreseeable future. Also, as you know, Bill has decided that he might want to retire someday, or that someday soon. And so we have Mark Fassbinder with us will be our Director of Building and Grounds. Bill, while not an employee, Mark, while not an employee, has probably been about as many support services meetings as I have, as he represented IIW in those meetings. So we welcome Mark. Joni also is choosing to retire, and we welcome Carrie Moss, who's been with our district for a period of time, and she will do a great job of carrying on Jonah's legacy of great support to the board through the board secretary position. Greg Lehman will be replacing the retiring Kelly Maloney as the principal at Jefferson Middle School. Greg has been at Jefferson for well over 20 years, I think closer to 27 years, and I don't have that number in front of me, but has great relationship with students, staff, parents, and will be great next principal there, though Kelly will leave some big shoes to fill. And then returning to the district, Kathy McCarthy, who was a teacher, left to go to the AEA, will be replacing Claudette Bees as the assistant principal with a focus on special education at Hempstead High School. So just a time of great change for us, but feeling really good about the folks that we're bringing on board and to take the next step with the district.
Yeah, it's always hard to lose what we're familiar with, but it's exciting to see the new people who are able to step in. So thank you very much. I need a motion to approve the personnel report as submitted then.
I move to approve the personnel report as submitted.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the personnel report as submitted. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And that takes us to, I believe it is our Facilities and Support Services Committee report. Kate
All right.
Parks.
Thank you. So we had a great meeting last Monday, and many of the items that we'll be voting on, I think, summarize a lot of what we've been talking about. So we should just move into that. So first, I move that the Board of Education approve the donation from Ethan Manders, Eagle Scout, of 3 trees to Irving Elementary School.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the donation from Ethan Manders, Eagle Scout, of 3 trees to Irving Elementary School. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
All right, I move that the Board of Education approve the executed construction contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance with Tricon Construction Group for the senior high school Phase 2 additions and renovations project in the amount of $27,492,000.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the executed construction contract bonds and certificate of insurance with Tricon Construction Group for the senior high school Phase 2 additions and renovations project in the amount of $27,492,000. Is there any discussion?
I believe this construction will begin June 4th, and we'll be looking forward to the Phase 2 at senior kicking off.
Very exciting.
Yep, excited about it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
All right, I move that the Board of Education approve the executed construction contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance with Lifeline Audio Video Technologies Incorporated for the senior high school Phase 2 auditorium AV sub-project in the amount of $253,000.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the executed construction contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance with Lifeline Audio Video Technologies Incorporated for the senior high school Phase 2 auditorium AV sub-project in the amount of $253,000. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Okay. I move that the Board of Education approve the executed construction contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance with Communications Engineering Company, CEC, for the Hempstead High School intercom replacement project in the amount of $303,904.81.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the executed construction contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance with Communications Engineering Company, CEC, for the Hempstead High School intercom replacement project in the amount of $303,904.81. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Okay. I move that the Board of Education approve the executed construction contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance with Drew Cook and Sons Excavating for the Kennedy Elementary School Playground Improvements Project in the amount of $677.40.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the executed construction contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance with Drew Cook and Sons Excavating for the Kennedy Elementary School Playground Improvements Project in the amount of $179,677.40. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution offering for sale by public bid a 2008 Dodge pickup, 2002 Genie Lift, and a 2005 Genie Lift, and set the date, time, and place for possible public hearing as May 10th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. at the Dubuque Community School District.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the resolution offering for sale by public bid a 2008 Dodge pickup, 2002 Genie Lift, and a 2005 Genie Lift, and set the date, time, and place for possible public hearing as May 10th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. at the Dubuque Community School District. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
So a lot of exciting construction happening.
That's right.
And Kevin also spent a lot of time at our meeting talking to us about the budget. So I move that the Board of Education approve the quarterly budget report.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the quarterly budget report. Discussion, Mr. Kelleher, you're going to present it.
Just a couple points. Actually, three. The first one is, Bill wanted to make sure, he wanted to let you know that Mark has plenty to do this summer without you approving all of these projects. So jump right in.
I was glad to look over and still see him here.
Just a couple points on the quarterly budget. First thing is the SAVE fund. I think it's page 87 of your packet. If you were to look at the SAVE fund, you would see there's a over expenditure for the year of about 1.8 million. That is simply because we've now put in a couple POs for the senior Phase 3 or Phase 2 project. We have a $2 million for soft costs and about a little over $1 million for FF&E equipment. We put those POs into the system to get started because we are having some expenses in that area. But that's the reason when you add the expenditures and encumbrance, it goes over. The second piece is, and it has to do with pages 88 and 94 in your packets, it's the revenue and expenditures for the nutrition fund. We're still continuing to watch that. Revenues is down obviously from what it has been historically, so we're continuing to watch that balance just to see how much in ESSER funds we may have to transfer over to that fund to keep it solvable. So those were the 2 points that I wanted to bring up. Thank you.
Is there any questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I believe that's it.
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Educational Programs and Policy Committee report, Mr. Sansey.
Thank you. So at our last meeting last week, one of the things we talked about was, if you remember previously at our last board meeting, we talked about what we're specifically doing as a district to support our elementary students, the first graders who are going into second grade, to make sure that we help them recover because of the pandemic. This week we talked about what we're doing specifically for our 11th and 12th graders for credit recovery. And starting today, April 12th to May 20th, at the Alta Vista campus, students, those who needed support, will have that capacity right there, I believe at 5th period. I don't have the specific time, but it is a 5th period, so from 3 to 4-ish, those students who need support can have that. We also talked about excusing the seniors for the snow days. The superintendent came and talked to us about the Iowa statewide assessment of student progress, which is it's an assessment that we use to track students' outcome. And the previous assessment that we used, we had it specifically in our strategic plan with basic baseline and progression that we wanted to see. But with this new assessment, we'll have to update or modify our strategic plan just so we know where students are at and where we want them to be in the future. And we also reviewed 5 policies.
You have a motion on the snow days.
Do we?
Yeah, snow days.
Let me look at my phone. I move that the Board of Education excuse seniors from making up canceled snow days. Look at that.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education excuse seniors from making up canceled school days. Is there any discussion?
Once again, Anderson, you're going to be very popular with the high school seniors.
Oh, man. They're taller than me, so I better treat them nice.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We usually don't have a motion out of that
We don't?
committee, so thank you, Anderson. And we do have some new business items, so we'll go ahead and get started with that. I need a motion.
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution fixing the date for a public hearing on the proposed issuance of approximately $36 million school infrastructure sales, services, and use tax revenue bonds.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the resolution fixing the date for a public hearing on the proposed issuance of approximately $36 million school infrastructure sales, service, and use tax revenue bonds. Roll call vote, please.
Parks.
Aye.
Prohaska.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Sancy.
Aye.
Whitman.
Aye.
Bradley.
Aye.
Donahue.
Aye.
That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education take no further disciplinary action related to students number 817731 and number 816581 at this time.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education take no further disciplinary action related to student number 817731 and 816581 at this time. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move the Board of Education accept the superintendent's recommendation to terminate the employee contract of Corrine Hollis effective June 7th, 2021.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that the Board of Education accept the superintendent's recommendation to terminate the employee contract with Corinne Hollis effective June 7th, 2021. Is there any discussion?
Could I just jump in for a second?
Yes.
So I think it's really important that the use of the language termination is based on legally what we have to say. This is not a performance issue in any way, shape, or form. It has to do with the French teacher and extremely declining enrollment in French. So this is just we're ending the contract because we don't have a need for a second French teacher starting for the 21-22 school year. So whenever you see the word termination in the name, I want to make sure we're really clear that this is a program that is declining and therefore we have less need. It has nothing to do with what people might think of the word termination. So.
Thanks for explaining that, Stan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that something that came about as a result of the new state law on that or something? No,
The language?
the language, yeah.
No, I think that's the language we've used for a while anyway.
It is required to be a separate motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All
So
those
is
in
that
favor?
true for other staff reductions that we will encounter?
If
there are others.
If there are others, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
It just seems
Harsh.
harsh.
Yeah, I would agree.
Thanks. I would just thank Ms. Hollis for her service in French teaching.
We need a
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right. We now move to
What everybody wants to
Mr.
know.
Donahue, who's going to, I have on here, you will speak.
All right. I do have some prepared comments. I quit.
Well, we have not voted yet, so we cannot vote no.
We haven't, we
Right.
don't accept, that's not acceptable.
So be careful how you word
All right,
this.
I'll try to work on it a little bit. No, I know I've shared with the board, and I think the paper captured it accurately. It's bittersweet for me because obviously I have enjoyed every minute, and we'll talk more later. But the opportunity to move to an opportunity that was more mission-based was a great opportunity for me in my life journey. And so I am enjoying every minute of being the new CEO for the Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging. It's a mouthful. That's why we call ourselves NEI 3A.
Also a mouthful.
Also a mouthful. We got to do it in the right order. They're very patient, teaching an old banker lots of new tricks. So, but an incredibly passionate and committed group of people, and I'm really enjoying it. Obviously, our agency covers 18 counties in Northeast Iowa, and we have 4 regional offices. And so when we looked at the opportunity, having met my wife 36 years ago, actually met her 38 years ago at Luther, it seemed like life has gone full circle, a chance to set up home in Decorah, a little bit closer to our daughter and son-in-law in Minneapolis, and yet still within a stone's throw of Dubuque. I tell people I'm not going anywhere because I'm still very involved in Dubuque, on the DRA board, on the museum board, Hills and Dales Foundation board. And so they can't get rid of me. I've tried, but they won't. They won't. Yeah, so it's bittersweet. I talked to Stan about consolidating with the Decorah Community School District, and apparently that was a no-go. I was happy to take the Northern Front, but again, we'll talk again in June. But very excited, and just want all of you in the room, including you, Anderson, to know that as you continue to age, I'm here for you.
Appreciate that. Well, can I say something, please?
Sure.
All right, I wrote this down, and so this is for you, Mike. You know, personally, you're a friend first. You're a colleague. You're a person of wisdom. When you speak, people listen. And since I've been kind of like a rookie and growing up with all of the board members, everyone looks at you for that wisdom. Even when things are chaotic, you are the bridge to all of us. Although you're gone, I know personally you're a text or phone call away, especially when my Gators lose. So I know I can speak for all of us when I say you will be missed, but again, I know you're a text or phone call away. Thank you for serving our community.
Yep, you're welcome.
No, we will have Mike around for
Oh, yeah.
a good 2 months yet. I just want everybody to
months,
know
That's
that
right.
he is not going to be gone yet, so we will have a chance to speak as a board in June.
We will have a chance at that time?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Mike,
I'll just want to,
You got 2 months to work on
I
your
got 2 months
project. Let's put it that way, yeah.
Bad and the ugly, start your
But I
list
remember,
now.
I get to go last.
So be nice.
But I do need a motion on,
okay, I move reluctantly, if I can insert that,
I second that one.
that the Board of Education accept the resignation of Mike Donahue effective June 15th, and to proceed with the appointment process, including the authorization of the board secretary to post the notice of vacancy and the solicitation for interested individuals to serve.
second,
it has been moved and seconded that the
also
board.
reluctantly.
Yes.
No one wanted to second that one.
That the Board of Education accept the resignation of Mike Donahue effective June 15th and to proceed with the appointment process, including authorization of the board secretary to post the notice of vacancy and the solicitation for interested individuals to serve, and discussion. I will fill in with the discussion that the process will be that Joni is putting the publication out into the TH starting tomorrow, and there's a 2-week time period where people, 14 days, that people can notify if they are interested. And then at the May 10th board meeting, the board will have a discussion as to names that have been self-presented, put forward, and we'll discuss, and we as a board will choose someone to fill that. The guidelines state that a call for an election for that position can happen. However, the election is going to be in November. It won't happen anytime before that. So even if somebody were to call for that, it would not happen before that. And so the person who is being appointed to that position is only serving from June 15th until the election outcome winners are installed, or elected and then sworn in. So that is the process of which we will be following going forward. So just wanted to make that clear with everybody and the public out there. That's how it is happening.
Quick question, Tammy, will that May 10th meeting, will that be in closed session or open?
No, it'll be open.
Okay.
Mike, since Northeast Iowa Agency on Aging is taking you away from us, can you just say a bit about the work of the agency?
Can we vote on this motion?
Yeah,
I'm
first?
so sorry, yes.
And then we'll go to other board
No.
members? Okay. So we do have to accept it. We could delay it. I guess that's your tactic.
delay it.
That's
Like a
okay.
Trying to stall out.
That's okay. I'm a little slow. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Aye. Unfortunately, that motion does carry. All right, you were asking, Nancy.
Yes, I just interested in the work of the
Sure.
agency.
Yeah. So it's an area agency on aging, and there are 626 of those across the country. They are funded by statute through the Older Americans Act, which was passed back in the mid-'60s. And the whole concept is to allow older persons to age independently and with dignity. So what we do is either directly provide or coordinate services for people to basically stay in their homes as they age. So that ranges everything from nutrition and nutrition counseling. We're probably best known for Meals on Wheels. You hear that a lot. That's a national affiliation, but we have an entire nutrition department that works on delivering either daily meals, or they'll deliver, or they'll work in congregate meal sites across the state and the country. But in addition to that, we do work around elder abuse. We do work around fall prevention, those types of things. We teach Tai Chi. I haven't taken a class in that yet. I'm told the lady lives in Decorah, so I might get asked. But we also do case management and caregiver support. So we'll both directly and through caregivers providing respite in some cases, or education information. And a lot of our volume is really information and assistance. So people looking for services will reach out to us, and then we will coordinate with other nonprofit areas, agencies, and/or nonprofit organizations to help those people stay. And so we've been very busy, like all of you, with vaccinations. It's been a trial for us because the information coming out of the state, frankly, has been all over the board. So, but the people call us, and the governor said, call us. We're like, we don't have any vaccines. We can't authorize it. So, but you know, a fair number of our folks are some are homebound. But in the state of Iowa, there's 500,000 people that are age 60 to 75, and there's 250,000 people that are over the age of 75. And some of the more, I think, challenging statistics are the fact that about 42% of our consumers live in rural areas. And of that, 50% of them live alone. And that's, I mean, not just people we serve. I mean, 50% of the people who are 60 and above live in a rural setting and live alone. So getting those services out to there requires a lot of collaboration, a lot of coordination. But like I say, at the end of the day, it's just great work. So we're
It's
very
important
excited.
work.
Yeah, very important.
We're fortunate to get you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Well, I know where you can learn Tai Chi. My husband teaches it 3 days a week. And your age does fall in, it's 55 and over.
What
To
is-
participate in
Oh,
his
okay.
class.
Okay. Thanks.
So I know where you can get educated in Tai
I
Chi.
think.
But no, Mike, you've been a mentor to me since we were neighbors on the Wedgewood School Board, or
Association.
So I am going to miss you immensely.
No, like I say, you might see me
Thank you for
around.
all that you do.
You're welcome.
Are there any other board member or administrative issues?
I'd like to just hope that somewhere down the line here, that we, in our future meetings, that we have lost a lot of very valuable people in our school district, including Mike. And I'm hoping that we find the time in future meetings to undergo some type of more public recognition of them individually, in some form of board salute, et cetera, before they depart on us. And I welcome their new hirees to our district. You guys have some big shoes to fill, but welcome aboard.
And we'll have something usually in June. So at our June meeting, might take a little longer to say appropriate farewells.
Yeah. All right. If there is nothing else, we are adjourned.